Here's another question I received recently from a viewer, and a longtime viewer, longtime channel supporter, I should say. And they wanted to know if I had any ideas on how in the heck you could get a beam into a garage, something like a two-car garage. Now, if you have the roof sheathing off and you're building something new where you can slip it in from the top, you're not going to have a problem. But if you had to put this board in here, one of the ceiling joists or the rafter ties, if you had to put it in from the bottom, it's very difficult to cut it and then slide it in at one end and then actually get it to come in, be able to lift it up. So from the top, yeah, you're not going to have much of a problem. From the bottom, you are going to have a problem. So let's go ahead and see if I can help the person out here, at least provide some of the viewers with a few ideas. In our first example, I'm going to go ahead and put a beam in here. This is going to be like a 4x6 or a 4x8. I forget what the ceiling joists are here. And you can see here where you can actually slide the beam at one end all the way over tight to a block here, which is going to give us 2.5 inches. An inch and a half is going to give us 2 inches here. And in order to get the beam in, it's going to have to be a little shorter. You're going to put it in one end and then lift it up on this end here. And then you can simply slide the beam over. But this is only going to provide you with 1 inch on each side of load bearing. Now, if you're putting a beam in and it's going to be for a structural purpose, you might have to remove some of these blocks and do something different. But if you're going to put a beam in, and I believe the individual wanted to create some type of a rack to hang stuff on, then something like this might work just fine. And of course, you might need to use some type of building hardware. You do not want this thing to move at all, especially during an earthquake or something. But you can see here it's 1 inch on each side. In order to get the beam in, you've got to shove it all the way tight against the block and then lift it up on the other side and slide it back over 1 inch. So a top view of it there. Now in our next example, I am going to take the beam and shove it all the way over. It's going to be tight. And again, you can always use combinations of the different methods in here to create something also. So hope that makes sense. So we have our beam. It's tight on this side. And of course, in order to get the beam in, we are going to have, it's going to need to be a little shorter. Makes sense, I hope. And then we will simply put a post under it. So you can see here, a lot of times your garage curb, on a garage, you are going to have a curb, and it's usually a little wider than the wall. So usually if you have a 3.5 inch wall, this is going to be 5.5 inches or 6 inches. So you're going to have 2 or 3 inches here. And you can simply set the post on top of the footing or on top of a piece of treated lumber. And of course the post can go in like this. You could tie it all together. A view of what it would look like here. Now let's go ahead and move the post over instead of having it notch underneath the wall framing plates. We will butt it up against the framing plates, put a strap on it and a hurricane tie there. And you can see here where the bottom of the post isn't full bearing on the base plate there, but I don't think that's going to be a problem. Again, we're not using this to hold up a barn here. Another thing you can do will be to use a smaller board instead of a 4x4. I always use a 2x4 or even a 2x3 if you're looking for something that's going to get full bearing on the plates. And something you're probably going to need to do, if you do, is to put another wall stud behind it to give it a little stability, something like that. I mean, a 2x4 just doesn't seem like it's going to be strong enough by itself for something like this. I could see it, the weight pushing down and bowing the stud from one side. Again, how it would look like on the bottom. And of course, you could always put this on the other side. You could always have this on both sides. Split the difference in the beam. Have it sit an inch on the framing plates on each side, and then put these supports under there. Put the 2x4s or the 4x4s for some additional load support. The next suggestion would be to use a couple of boards, 2x6s or 2x8s here, and bolt them together. One, of course, will be a little longer than the other. So on this one here, we might have a 4-footer. If it's a 20-foot garage, then you might have a 4-footer and something a little less than 16 foot, or even a 16-footer, depending on your situation, and then bolt them together. See how it looks on the other side? So we would have one longer board on one side, smaller board on the other side. Something like this. Another view of it here. So we would have a shorter board on the upper part here, let's say, and a longer board. And then on the lower section, a lower part here of the video picture, we would have a smaller one on this side. And this could create a nice solid beam here. And of course, provide you with full bearing on each end of the wall. And for the grand finale here, you could simply make it larger if you needed to. You could bolt 3 of these boards together, 4 of them together, 5 or 6, whatever you wanted to. But you are going to need some support underneath the beam or whatever you install. And I really didn't show that in the other picture, saved it for the grand finale. But if you are going to add a beam, make sure that you have some wall framing studs or even a post underneath it to transfer the load. And of course, you'd simply bolt these together, get some longer bolts, of course, and then make sure that it is connected to the wall framing with some type of hardware or fasteners. Another view of it there. Uh-oh, sheeted. Got the roof sheeting on, coming around the front. Give you an idea what it looks like from the bottom here. And that is it for this video. So hope it helps. Hope it gives you some ideas. And again, you can always use a combination of these examples in the video to create something. And if you come up with a new idea, feel free to share it with us in the comment area.